Good afternoon, America. This is Eli Liberty and Joy Freedom with a special report on early immigration in America.
It was the late 1800s to the mid-1900s when millions of immigrants came through Ellis Island in New York City. Immigrants were leaving their homes in Europe in search of freedom and a better life. Many immigrants began their journeys on a ship crossing the harsh Atlantic oceans. Once they arrived to Ellis Island, the immigrants were given physical and mental tests to see if they were healthy and fit to stay in America. Some immigrants were sent to Manhattan to start their new lives. Others were denied entrance and were sent back to their homelands. Ellis Island was known as the Island of Hope and the Island of Tears.
In our search on immigration to America, we recovered treasures of the past. We have located immigrant interviews which give us insight into this very important period of time. We will share those with you in just a bit, but first let's hear from a few Ellis Island volunteers. Gianna, what can you and the rest of your crew tell us about the history of Ellis Island?
Hello everybody and welcome to Ellis Island. We have all worked here for many years and we have some facts to share with you.
First, let's hear about who owned Ellis Island.
Yes, in the 1770s, a fisherman named Samuel Ellis bought the island.
Then later on, the U.S. government took over many years after Samuel died.
Exactly right, guys. And I heard that the president, at that time, signed a paper saying no more ammunition shall be held at Ellis Island, because beforehand, it was used to store ammunition and execute pirates. Then, afterwards, it would be turned into an immigration center, a big, wooden, beautiful one. And that was exactly what happened. The immigration center opened in 1892.
Cool. I also know that within a couple of years, Ellis Island handled a couple of million immigrants that came through boat on third class.
And I know that out of all the immigrants that came through Ellis Island, Annie Moore was the first. She was only 15 years old.
That is good information, guys. The Ellis Island Immigration Center was used for immigration for more than 60 years. It is located less than half a mile north of Liberty Island. But what about the fire?
Oh yes, and of course, the fire. That was horrible. 5 years after Ellis Island opened, a huge fire spread through the island and burnt on all the wooden buildings. 1897 was a horrible year for Ellis Island. Luckily though, no one died. The fire just touches my heart and makes me think about the horrible scene that occurred on that day. But Ellis Island was rebuilt.
In all, Ellis Island was an immigration center where over 12 million immigrants passed through. It closed as an immigration center in 1954. Then in 2001, Ellis Island reopened as a museum where people who are interested can look up their family's history and learn about the immigrant experience.
Yes, Ellis Island, the Island of Hope and the Island of Tears.
We hope to have sparked your interest, and we invite you to Ellis Island anytime you are in New York. Back to you, Eli and Joy.
Thanks, Gianna. You definitely helped to answer some questions I'm sure everyone had. Now, let's take them back in time to one of our recovered treasures. Here we have an interview with some immigrants from the early 1900s, answering some questions about why they immigrated to America.
Hello, my name is Allie, and today I get the opportunity to interview 3 immigrants that came through Ellis Island. Why would anyone ever want to travel across an ocean leaving everything behind but what could fit in a small piece of bag? First, let's hear from Tony. Tony, why did you and your family leave your hometown of Italy?
My family and I left Italy because we were poor farmers who grew across the land that we rented from landowners. We heard that the United States had many opportunities for anyone willing to work hard. We also heard stories of free land and that the streets were paved with gold. We knew there was a chance of a better life, so we decided to leave poverty behind.
Thank you, Tony. Now let's hear from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, why did you and your family leave Ireland?
Well, my family and I left Ireland because of the potato famine. About 1.5 million Irish people immigrated because of it. Another reason we left was because of the unfair government and to seek new opportunities in the new land.
Elizabeth, one more question. What was the potato famine?
You see, Irish peasants depended on potatoes for their survival, but when the potato famine struck, a horrible fungus grew on the crops in our fields. Many people died of starvation or disease. The potato famine started in the mid-1840s and eventually killed nearly 1 million people.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Now let's hear from Jason, who came from Poland. Jason, why did you and your family leave Poland? My family and I emigrated from Poland because we struggled to survive. We had very little farmland and money. We didn't know what to do, but we needed a way to feed our family, and traveling to America gave us the hope we needed for a better life. Thank you, Tony, Elizabeth, and Jason for sharing your stories with us. Many people had one goal in mind, and that was to create a better life for them and their families.
It's clear that people came here for many reasons with one goal in mind, a better life. Next, we have uncovered immigrants describing what it was like to travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Let's hear what they had to say.
I was very poor and bought the least expensive ticket, which was steerage.
Steerage was dark, scary, cold, and slippery. It was the basement at the bottom of the ship.
Steerage was not comfortable. Passengers with first-class tickets slept in large cabins. Everybody in steerage was crowded and cramped together.
They only gave us food that was covered in maggots. And you know what I did? I wiped off the maggots and ate what was left. It was all I had. We had to eat soggy bread and cured fish. It was horrible.
On sunny days, if I was feeling alright, I went to the top deck to get some fresh air and exercise.
It was like heaven on the top deck. No smell of vomit or sickness.
The smell in steerage was so terrible that every time I was up, I felt like I was going to throw up.
There was little fresh air and water. I was so seasick I stayed in bed for 2 whole days. Others were getting sick around me as well. It was really tough going across the ocean with all the storms rocking the ship back and forth. People getting sick one night after the other.
Many diseases such as smallpox and measles were very common in steerage. Lucky for me, I never got any of those diseases, but many people did. My sister was very sick and close to dying, but she made it.
One of my brothers died on a shipwreck because he was really sick. They had to throw his decaying body overboard into the ocean. It was very sad day for me as he was the only family that I had.
There were about 4,000 people in steerage because the ship owners wanted to make a big profit.
Most steerage passengers have never even seen the ocean before, including myself, but now we were traveling across it.
It was about a 3,000-mile journey across that ocean. That took a really long time.
It took me 5 weeks to get here. That's 35 days on that rotten, smelly ship.
When I saw Radio Liberty, I was so excited to start a new life.
Where I came from was a town, but this was a big city.
When I saw the Statue of Liberty, I almost began crying.
When I saw the statue, I knew freedom was close by.
Amazing. My heart goes out to all the immigrants who took the harsh journey over. I'm not sure I would have been able to survive, and it doesn't seem like things were any easier once the immigrants stepped foot onto Ellis Island. Next, we have footage of an interview with an inspector and 2 immigrants sharing their experiences from Ellis Island.
Today we have a few guests who will shed some light on the immigrant experience on Ellis Island. James, how about you start for us?
I was an inspector at Ellis Island for 15 years. The first thing the immigrants did once exiting the ship was to climb the stairs of separation, similar to what we're sitting on now. If one of the immigrants limped or showed any sign of illness, they would get pulled off the line and separated from their family. I pulled many people off the line for many reasons.
This must have been a scary experience. Patrick and Annie, do you recall your experience on the stairs?
I certainly do. I was pulled off the line and marked with a B, F, G, and L.
What did those letters mean, James?
Well, if you look at this chart, we were looking for all these signs. If we noticed anything questionable, immigrants will mark the chalk and further inspect it.
I was so lucky that I didn't get pulled off the stairs, but my heart broke for those who didn't make it all the way up. The next thing I remember doing was going into a huge room full of frozen people. Now I know that it's called the Great Hall.
After I got pulled off the line, I had to get further inspected. I was sad and frustrated because I was separated from my family. I didn't know when I would see it again.
James, I heard about a test called the button hook test. Can you tell me more about this?
Yes, as an inspector, we used the button hook to lift an immigrant's eyelid to check for eye disease trachoma, which was highly contagious. Many immigrants disliked this experience.
James, I heard about where did the immigrants have to go if they had a serious sickness or disease?
Immigrants would have to go to the hospital. Some immigrants were quarantined and had to pass other physicals before being released, which could take days.
I was in the hospital for more than 2 days while being tested by more doctors. I felt miserable, alone, and scared.
James, I heard about the literacy test. Can you explain more about this?
The The literacy test is a test to see whether an immigrant could read and write.
I passed the literacy test, but I felt bad for other people who failed and had to stay behind.
After the immigrants passed the physical and mental test, James, where did they go next?
Immigrants stopped at the money exchange where they were able to exchange their currency for American money. I've heard stories that some immigrants were taking advantage of here and what they were owed.
I exchanged my lira for American dollars. When the cashier handed me my new money, I felt welcome to America.
James, what exactly is a kissing post?
Kissing Post is a place where immigrants could reunite with their family who are already living in America. This was the time of hope and tears.
I'll never forget the time when I reunited with my family at the Kissing Post. It was the best day of my life, especially after not seeing my father for 3 years.
Wow, I never thought life could be so hard to the immigrants. Let's give a special thanks to our guests, James, Patrick, and Annie. Thank you for sharing your stories with us today.
I can't even imagine being one of the immigrants that was deported back to Europe. In a split second, your hopes of having a better life just vanished. But was life really better? Did the immigrants find streets paved with gold? Let's hear this interview from 1907 with famous photographer Jacob Riis and a few immigrants he photographed.
Today is September 7th, 1907. This is Scott Gates here, famous photographer Jacob Riis, and a few immigrants he photographed. So, Mr. Riis, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I was born in Rye, Denmark on May 3rd, 1849. I was one of 14 children. Then I immigrated to New York City. I was unable to find work, so I decided to become a police officer.
Why did you decide to have the other half lives?
I wanted to show the wealthy how the poor were living.
Is it true that Theodore Roosevelt called you New York's most useful citizen?
Yes, it's true. I guess I helped open the eyes to many people of what was really happening.
How did you take photos in the dark tenements?
Well, I created the first ever flash camera, which allowed me to take photos in the dark.
Why did you start taking photos of the immigrants on the Lower East Side?
I wanted to show the wealthy how the poor were living.
I think you have done just that and more. With us today, we also have a few people Jacob Riis photographed. Gina, what was life like once you passed through Ellis Island?
Life was rough. I worked and lived in very harsh conditions. I had to work to survive. I got paid little to nothing, but it was just enough for my family to eat.
What did you do for them?
I worked in a factory with my sister and my mother, but unfortunately, due to a tragic fire, they both died because they were unable to leave the room they were in until their work was over. Luckily, I was able to leave the room to escape. I miss them dearly. Living without them is heartbreaking.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Derek, tell us about your experience in New York City.
I arrived in 1898. I lived in a dirty tenement with 2 other families in one room. We shared one facility that was located in the middle of the hallway. It was a difficult life, no easier than living in Germany.
Did you work?
I worked in a sweatshop. I made hats for many people. I worked 12-hour days.
Didn't seem very golden at all. Maria, this is you in the photo, correct?
Yes, that's me. When my firstborn baby in the tenement my husband found for us to live in.
Did you do anything for a living?
Actually, I didn't work outside of home. I had 6 more children after the Salvatore, so I had to stay home and take care of them, and my husband worked all day. As my children grew older, they were also sent to work.
Charlie, tell us your story.
When I was 9 years old, I passed a horrible test of Ellis Island and traveled on with my father. My brother, who grew ill, was deported back to Ireland with my mother. Life didn't get any better with the ones that I loved.
So sorry, Charlie. That would be a terrible experience for anyone. Once you were in New York City, did you find work?
Yes, I worked in a shelter, working long and hard hours.
Jenna, can you tell us how your life was in New York City?
It was a hard time for my parents to find jobs and a decent house. We lived in a tenement with 6 different families. Being in such unsanitary conditions left my sister dead due to the influenza. It took more than a decade for my parents to find a decent house in a decent neighborhood.
Thank you all for sharing your stories with us today.
Amazing stories of the past. I have been touched by the courage of so many searching for freedom. Let's wrap up today's special report with America's symbol of freedom. Who is this Lady of Liberty? Frederick, take it away.
Thanks, Eli and Joy. Lady Liberty was the first sight immigrants saw while entering Ellis Island. But first, I bet you're wondering how this wonderful Statue of Freedom landed in New York Harbor.
Well, I'll tell you about that. A French architect named Frederick Bartholdi designed the Statue of Liberty by copying his mother's face. Frederick first designed Liberty out of very small copper pieces. The size increased as Frederick's mind went further. The last one was so big it couldn't fit in his workshop. Hundreds of people worked to build the statue in France. It took 21 years to complete.
And those hundreds of people built Liberty in pieces. The first part that was built was the right arm with the torch, which symbolizes liberty and enlightening the world with freedom. The second part built was the head with its beautiful crown, symbolizing Liberty's divine halo. Liberty stands on a 12-acre island in upper New York Bay.
After Liberty was completed, they needed a place for her to stand. Workers in the United States started to build the pedestal, but unfortunately, they ran out of money. People needed a pedestal for a reason. You couldn't see Liberty from far away unless she was standing on something tall. Richard Morris was an American architect who had designed the pedestal.
Joseph Pulitzer owned a newspaper, and the front cover said, "The statue needs a home." Since Joseph did that, many people, including children, sent dimes, nickels, and pennies. Soon there was enough money to complete the pedestal.
The pedestal is 10 stories high and it's 20 feet thick. Concrete walls are covered with granite blocks. Did you also know that Liberty was a gift from France? Well, it was. A ship carried 214 crates full of Lady Liberty from France to New York. Can you believe that?
Professor Legolay started making a suggestion. Why not honor the idea of democracy and build a monument as a gift from the people of France to the people of the United States? Why not, indeed? And so it began, the 21 labor of love that turned a surprising idea into the most powerful symbol of freedom in the world.
The Statue of Liberty has become a symbol of the United States of America and is an expression of freedom to people throughout the world. On Lady Liberty's tablet, it's written July 4th, 1776, Independence Day.
Also, a famous poet, Emma Lazarus, wrote a poem in Liberty called The New Colossus. Let me share a section of it now. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, your yearning to breathe free.
On October 28, 1886, people had a parade to welcome Lady Liberty. During the Statue of Liberty's 100th birthday celebration in 1986, people gave money to help restore the nearby immigration center. Such a nice thing to do, isn't it?
Certainly is. I hope you have enjoyed today's special presentation on immigration to America. Ellis Island will be my next stop in New York City. How about yours?